Dangerous Hearts is playing right here on your radio. The time is 20 minutes on to 9 o'clock in the morning. Today is beautiful, beautiful Thursday, 24th of July, 2025. Now, every Thursday, we get to this conversation, which is about the inside of our hearts. Yeah, it's about wellness. And we started off this with asking, how are you? Because this is a question that it's just a literally taken around question. You know, people don't mean when they ask, how are you? But we wanted to just be the space where we sit in the middle of the week and ask and check on us. Now, today on Wellness Thursday, we want to dive into a topic many of us, we know it too well. The cost of constantly saying yes. Some people say that by default we are people pleasers, so we just keep saying yes, 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 yes. We're trying to explore the intimate link between our boundaries and our bodies. What really happens inside us when we agree to things we do not want, when we stay silent to avoid guilt, when we give access, when we give love, when we give time and energy at the expense of ourselves. Now listen, boundaries, this is not just a buzzword. I know we use it quite often. Draw your boundaries, set your boundaries. Even motivational speakers use it. Boundaries, it's biology. Boundaries, it's chronic headaches, burnout, anxiety. These often ain't just medical. They also are messages from a body that is overextended, unheard, misaligned with its own truth. And in a culture where saying no is seen as rejection or pride, how do we honor our nervous system without isolating ourselves? Now, this is what brings Isabel every morning to unpack. And I'm happy that you take off the time in the week to just do this. And Isabel, in the space of wellness, she's an advocate for your wellness. Isabel, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Jesse. I just love the way you introduce these topics. I always feel like I'm listening to maybe a preacher or something like that, or like your best lecturer. So
yes,
thank
that
you.
background. So it's allowed, yeah.
You really laid the
Supposed to be a
foundation. He was supposed to be a pastor.
Yeah.
That
Then he
makes
chose
sense.
to just talk on radio.
He chose to just come and entertain people in the morning, but you bring a lot of wisdom. Thank you so much for having
You're
me.
welcome.
Good
Yes.
morning, Isabel.
Good
I must say you
morning.
are glowing as always.
Oh, wow.
You look fantastic and I appreciate my gifts. Thank you.
Oh, I thought we said we were not saying that on radio. But anyway, I just want to also say thank you guys. You make every guest feel so like warm and welcomed and all of that. And this is where I get my dose of like, you look nice. Yeah. It's like I'm
No,
looking
you
for
actually really look nice.
You really look so
But
lovely.
so do you guys. So do you. Thank you
look
for
so
having
lovely.
me.
Should I decide to wear lipstick so I can, match the energy?
But you are wearing lipstick.
No, I decided to.
You
so-
decided. Oh, okay.
Every day I'm in lip gloss.
She wanted to
I said
match
I need to
your
match
energy.
the same energy with Isabel. She's
Now-
coming.
I want to find Juliana a cream.
Which can bleach me. I'm not about to bleach, bro.
People, we focus.
Isabel,
Just the boundaries.
I didn't talk about bleaching.
Okay.
Isabel, now that you're here,
Yes.
how exactly does the body respond when we constantly override our own boundaries, physically, emotionally, even hormonally? Let's just talk about this. How does the body respond? Sometimes we actually have no idea. Is it a response? Are we getting sick? Are we just overwhelmed?
Yes.
How does the body respond?
It's incredible that we decided to have this conversation, because a lot of the time, and I've said this even before on the show, when people think about our wellness, they think about mental health. It has become really like a buzzword, right? Mental health, that's where we stop. But I love that on this show, we've been talking a lot also about emotional wellness, but now we're linking that to the body because these three are interconnected. You think it, you feel it, your body responds to it. That's the way it works. And so what happens when we override, how we're feeling, we're constantly saying yes, but we mean no. We don't have the emotional bandwidth or like the physical capacity to do the things that we are saying yes to. The body registers that as self-betrayal, as self-abandonment. And what happens is sends signals to your nervous system, right? And so your nervous system kind of normalizes that this is okay, this discomfort, this stress, it's normal. And you suddenly find yourself sometimes entering into a state of chronic survival. So you're not really able to do it, but it's just become sort of like a straight line. You don't even feel it anymore. But that's very dangerous. So eventually you've talked of it. You see people having fatigue. You wake up in the morning, every morning you feel tired. You're like, but I went to bed at 8. I had a half day at work. Why am I tired, right? For some people, it's tightness in your chest sometimes that you cannot explain, and when you also still on the physical, you talk of things like insomnia. You're overextending yourself. And the body is screaming, hey, over here. On the emotional side, because that's all physical. On the emotional side, you see things like emotional burnout. You've seen people who, you've been around people and you've done things and then you go home and you just crash. This is common with introverts. You have to be careful. Personally, if I host an event, I really cannot talk to other people for at least another day or two. I need to withdraw and take a day off and kind of take care of my own self. But there are people who don't think about that. You don't even know, am I an extrovert? Am I an introvert? Can I handle all of this that I'm bringing into my space? So emotional burnout is one thing, but there are also other things. You've seen people disassociate.
Yeah.
It can manifest in so many ways, but all of it is pretty much your body saying, like, red lights, stop, I'm over here. And just to give a couple of examples, maybe you've seen Simone Biles, the gymnast.
The gymnastic.
The lady who does gymnastics. She's incredible. You think of her, you think of a legend, right? But I remember, and I know this is recent, so it's probably top of mind for a lot of people, when she pulled out of the Olympics suddenly.
Yeah.
And there's a documentary. And I remember this one particular moment. You see her, she's about to go on stage, right, to do her thing. And there's this mental switch that happens and her body instantly connects with what's going on in her mind. And you can see her body is either in fright or like she can't do it. And obviously she falls off the pole. And at some point she has to sit and say, okay, I need to set this boundary, even at the cost of, global applause or whatever that is. This is where I am at. It can't be about pleasing the whole world.
You see, there is this modern narrative that boundaries are about cutting off people. You set your boundaries, you have to cut off people because now you've set boundaries. I think I have a friend who told me, my best friend, I cannot access my best friend. I have to first call her, even to visit her, because she set her boundaries. And can boundaries exist without isolation? If that is possible, how?
Yeah, well, they absolutely can exist without self-isolation. But I think we need to understand something very critical. Boundaries are there for you to it's like self-love, self-respect, and for you to be able to show up in healthy ways. Boundaries, what we're seeing today, the word boundaries is weaponized. It's sort of also used in form of convenience, right? So a lot of people cautiously or subconsciously are saying boundaries to mean avoidance, to not take accountability, to not show up. And we're seeing this in society a lot.
Because there is a married woman who once mentioned that she had moved out of her husband's bedroom. Into hers because she had created boundaries. Was that avoidance?
Okay.
Was that were those real boundaries?
I think they need to go see a counselor
So, but
because
then how?
that's not boundaries. I
I
mean,
think
it
so.
can be boundaries if there's a reason for it. You know, are you not feeling safe? Right? Has there been a problem in your relationship and you've decided perhaps we're going to stay in this house for the sake of the children, but these are my clear boundaries. But if there's nothing wrong with the relationship, why the two become one? What's happening there?
Just give each other a break.
Yeah, you need to. But I cut you off. You're saying something.
No, I was
Juliana.
actually trying to ask, but then how do you even differentiate between setting health boundaries versus the building emotional walls?
Okay, so I'm so glad that you asked that because that's where I was going. We are confusing boundaries for this shield that we are building. Healthy boundaries should not be avoidance and it should not be fear of discomfort. Right? Healthy boundaries, yes, there's self-preservation, but they should also give you the capacity to sit with the uncomfortable and explore it. Right? It's just teaching you to show up in better ways. Now, building walls and building a shield is saying, for example, you've heard of people who use boundaries are people, by the way, who've done some personal growth. You have to appreciate, because otherwise they wouldn't even know what boundaries are to begin with. So these are people who've invested perhaps in their healing and they want to protect that at any cost. But your mental health, in as much as we say protect your mental, it's not something fragile that is going to just break. You know, and just like we invest in our physical well-being and you go on that treadmill and you exercise and you build capacity, you know, to lift, to, you know, be able to carry. Yesterday I was at an event listening to the Minister of Sports, Nelly, talk about a time when her husband was unwell and the fact that she was going to the gym and had been lifting. He's a very tall, you know, big guy. She was able to support him. You see that? You're building your body to be able to do things that are not in your comfort zone. You should treat your mental health the same. Building boundaries does not mean you run at the sight of anything that is emotionally distressing, that you run away from anything that doesn't feel safe or comfortable. Otherwise, we're going to live in a world where people are going to say someone got an accident and someone will say, the sight of blood makes me uncomfortable. I'm setting boundaries. What kind of world would that be? You see what I mean? There's a lot of misuse, and it's because the internet is oversaturated. Everybody is saying, you know, and you've heard of people saying, you know, the Gen Zs are overusing the word boundaries for comfort. These things are happening, but I think you need to go back to your values, your principles, your identity, and also make sure that that plays into what you mean when you say, I am setting my boundaries.
I wanted to get to that part, and I'm glad you mentioned it about the Gen Zs. And I know you have this teenage daughter, right? So a teenager, you walk into their room as a parent, and I know Juliana will want to react to this because he says she is the chief in the home. So you walk into a teenager's room, all right? And you tell them you are very unhappy with the condition and state of the room. And also that you have found things that are not appropriate in the room. The teenager tells you, Mommy, you've crossed boundaries.
Boundaries, please.
But in your previous submission, you have said that people who use boundaries have invested in understanding what boundaries are. Yeah. I don't think this Gen Z, this teenager, has really understood what these boundaries are. But they're saying you are going beyond the boundaries. How would you deal in such a state?
To be honest, I have been in that position one too many times. You know,
course you will
I'm
be
raising
a lot of
4,
them.
and you'll be amazed. You're talking about the girl, but the boy, the 7-year-old boy, he got the
more
lingo
entitled.
down.
Yeah.
You know, and he will say, "I don't feel hard." You know,
What?
this like, oh my God, like seriously, the generation that we are, the generations.
I think
that we're
as
dealing with.
parents, millennial parents, we have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
For me, the parenting every other day shocks me, the way it's done and the way these kids are raised and how they feel so entitled. I know I'm going to sound harsh to them if they're outside there.
chief
Most
of the home.
alphas and Gen Zs, because I was raised differently. I think my parents also we had boundaries, but we were not like throwing it into their faces and saying,
Yeah.
you're crossing my
My
boundaries.
boundary.
You don't are supposed to enter my room.
I like what you're saying, Juliana, and it's not just on children, it's also on adults. The way we are using this boundaries thing, I think there's a way to communicate it without coming off as mean, as the way that is being used today. With my children, I've always said one thing: are you leading with love? Love for self, love for others. If you choose to make your place unbearable for other people or uncomfortable for other people, and it can even make you sick because you're not cleaning your room, or all of that, is that a healthy boundary?
No.
Is it helping you? Is it helping another person? Are you leading with love? Are you thinking about self and others, or just choosing comfort? Because you have to love yourself. At least you have to have a certain level for yourself. So this boundary that you're setting to stay in the bed and sleep, and you have dirty, smelly, socks over there, you have this, you have that, and then you end up unwell. What are we talking about?
It's not a
here?
boundary, it's in discipline.
It is in discipline.
It's inappropriate living.
And sometimes emotional manipulation.
True.
For the parents. But I also want to talk about another worrying side of this, Jessie. I am seeing a lot of people in our society becoming too wise, even for themselves, but too wise for our society and for everybody else. I want to give a very delicate example. And I'm hoping I don't trigger anybody. But imagine when we came out of the genocide and the leadership decided we're going to have gachacha. Imagine people who are, on the other side of receiving this pain, right? Imagine if they said, I'm not going to participate. I am setting my boundary. I want you to sit with that for a second.
Yeah.
Are they entitled to saying that or not? The answer is actually yes. They could be entitled. But not every boundary is necessary. And it's helpful for you. So I want us to stop. You go on social media and you see people putting out, respecting boundaries in a mockery way. As if to say people who don't yet understand, who are on their learning journey of understanding what boundaries should be like, should be mocked, should be less than. No, they are not. If you know better, you teach another person. You don't weaponize your knowledge of this thing that sometimes, by the way, you may not even understand, So at the end of the day, I just want us to get back a little bit to who we were and not over-westernize our way of thinking, our way of living, or just run with anything we hear on social media. Because we are dealing with humans and we should remain human, even in our setting of boundaries.
Boundaries, avoidance, it happens in personal lives, within the family, and also at work. I want us to talk about avoidance and boundaries at work, because we spend most of the time, I think, working.
Work, yeah.
Yes.
Right? Somebody says, don't just walk into my office, you're breaking boundaries.
Everything is boundaries these days.
Where is avoidance at the workplace? How does it manifest?
I think avoidance, and this is actually very interesting because I had an encounter with this, I think, at my last place of employment. So you have people who don't want to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
Who don't want, again, like I said earlier, to sit with discomfort. And so the easy way to react, also our nervous system, like it's afraid, or you're scared, you just want to run away from the situation. These things are natural. Like feeling that way is natural, but how you respond, how you react to how you're feeling, then becomes the most important thing. Now, I want to give grace to people who may be experiencing a mental health crisis and they don't have the capacity to self-regulate in that moment. So we're giving those grace and we're putting those completely on the side. We're talking about you are okay, but you are seeing there's an emotionally charged situation on the other side. So maybe this is the person that we're giving grace that we talked about that you're experiencing. So you're a boss and you have, say, a young lady who is extremely hormonal. Yeah, you may not know why they are hormonal. There's different kinds of that plays out. They might be pregnant, that's why they're hormonal. They might just be, normal hormones that they're dealing with. And they're coming at you in a way that maybe wording is not, the way you prefer it to be. It's uncomfortable. Let's just put it that way. You may even perceive it as disrespectful. Now, instead of getting to the bottom of this employee who has been hitting goals and goals and goals, you go on the defense. You put your shield on and you say, I am not going to deal with this. HR. You see what I mean? So in this particular moment, there's no right and wrong. There's just a decision. You can choose to show up as a human being and lead with empathy and say, could you please have a seat? Or do you want to take 5? And then bring the person back and say, okay, what's underneath this anger? What's underneath this rage? Majority of the time you find this particular employee is in a team where maybe everyone is pushing everything towards them. They are overwhelmed. They are at a breaking point. You're busy thinking about you. In this situation, we have become these small gods. Like I've said, we have become a very individualistic society, and in as much as our mental awareness, our self-awareness is good for us, I think it's time to also take a small step back and learn to re-examine,
and be human beings.
Be human, yeah.
Let's talk about the nervous system. How does people pleasing or saying yes when we want to say no trigger a dysregulated state in the body? Now, I want you to picture this. This cuts across. You have a boyfriend that you depend on, or a husband that you depend on, and you have found yourself in situations where you cannot say no to anything because you depend on them. Or maybe you depend on your uncle, and you've not been able. We've had situations of uncles who have sexually abused even their family members because they're the ones who pay the school fees, and you've not been able to say no, or you're just a people pleaser. Now, the nervous system, in this sense, when we want to say no, but we're unable to say no, how does that trigger this regulated state in the body?
It really does. And it happens so fast sometimes. For some people, it's over a period of time. And I think that's easier to manage. But I'm going to answer this with my own personal example. For very many years, I struggled. I really, really struggled with the word no. I've been a people's pleaser since I was a child. In our home, I was the oldest girl. And so I was brought up to always do the right thing.
Solve problems.
Yes, I was married really young. And the only reason I was married is because now school is no more. What am I supposed to do? Mommy expects me to get married, and I got married. And now when the divorce is happening, also there's every single thing and you're doing is about, oh my God, how is this going to affect this person? And how is this going to affect this person? And I self-betrayed for a long time. Now,
you felt like you needed to please everyone.
Absolutely.
Even when you're going through the toughest time.
Now, lucky
it
for
can't
me.
be our daughter. It can't be our daughter.
No, how is the family going to look at me? That's nonsense.
You can't. And you've had a very public wedding, and she wore and she danced. How are they going to hear?
The divorce became super public. It must have been tough.
It was very, very, very tough. And I remember I went into hiding for about 6 months because I couldn't deal. My whole system shut down and broke down. But I want to talk about experiencing that and not dealing with it. Because what happened is 4 years later, I get into another relationship and then I got married. Except I won't, we don't have all day, so I'm going to skip to the part of now dangerous self-betrayal. I've been people pleasing, keeping peace. Everything is my daughter needs to have a good relationship. We're going to do whatever it takes to have a good relationship. You know, my mom and I need to, be somewhere. You're going to do whatever it takes to be somewhere. And now I end up in another relationship. But this time I have kids of my own and kids who are not my own. And I feel like I need to leave. But the people pleasing part, I have done something remarkable here. Raising children who are not your own as your own, and I love them to death. Bless their little hearts.
Don't tell me you carried them with you.
I couldn't. Of course, I snapped back into truth, but it took years of me sitting with this information and wondering, oh my God, what are they, my mom, how is she going to process this the second time? I failed her. You know, my children, oh my God. You know, everybody but Isabel. It broke me to the core, to a place where I did not think I was going to climb out of that depth of that dark pit. And I still have residue. I still am dealing with the cost of that. And so my plea to anybody that is listening right now, they will love you more when you're well, when you can show up in a healthy way. Because for me, what happened is everybody was trying to be nice to and people please. When I broke, it was anger, rage. You asked, how does it manifest?
Yeah.
We talked about the fatigues and, mental health problems can manifest in peaceful ways. They can also manifest in aggressive rage. And I am going to tear you apart, and yet you're the one I love.
Yeah.
So I love you, and then I'm the villain in that same story now, because I'm coming to literally undo completely. Yeah. So we have to be very, very careful. If you love them honestly. Listen to your heart. Listen to your mind. Listen to them. There was one thing that never lies. The mind will lie to you. It will interpret. The emotions are the thing you should never trust in this world. They change with the weather.
Second, yeah.
You know what never lies? Your body. Your body.
That gets me to
never
ask,
lie.
actually, what are those small ways your body tells you that it's not feeling safe, it's not respected? What are those ways that you can actually say, now it's time for me to listen to my body?
Yeah. I experienced something, oh my God, that I wouldn't wish on anybody. Actually, I'm getting a little emotional about this.
It's all right.
My system completely crashed. I could not sleep for 1.5 years.
Oh, wow.
I operated literally on maybe 3 hours of sleep on a good day. And then I talked about the shaking. So I was in a state of anxiety for so long. We talk about depression. These things are real, because you've gone through what I had experienced, all these, little low moments, and I hadn't processed them because I'm keeping face. You have to come on TV. You have to smile. You have to host an event. You have to hold space for thousands of people who want to feel good about their day. And you signed up for it. And actually, you love it, Actually, that's the only moment you actually feel like yourself and you feel great and all of that. But there's still things here that have not been dealt with. And my body was screaming. And so I started to put on weight.
Yeah.
That was so unhealthy. I think you can still see now I'm a little bit getting back to the Isabel that you used to know. I'm very much in the in-between of the journey. But I put on like 5 kgs. At some point, it was in a space of 3 months. Wow. I could not fit in any cloth. I love fashion, so I die for my stuff. The vanity was disturbing me at some point. But it was so difficult for me. You're not sleeping. You're stress eating.
I do that.
The body is telling you, we're not good in here and in the mind, right? And then the other thing that really disturbed me was my heart, the racing of my heart in situations. Yeah. You would just be there. There's nothing that is different. And it was so difficult. I just my whole body was just not okay. One time I ended up in a hospital at here in Chichuchiro, DMC, and they checked everything. I was in my and I was fine. They checked my blood. They checked everything. I was fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. Can't you see I'm not fine?
Yeah.
Like we can see. But there's nothing clinically, medically wrong with you. Another example was in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I had the worst panic attack I've ever had in my life in the pandemic. And I ended up at the military hospital. Mark I'm very operational. I was homeschooling my babies. I was rocking it as
on
a
the
mom.
outside, you looked fantastic.
I looked fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody, how are you doing it, girl? Like, you
I remember
glowing.
visiting you in Musanze. You looked so fine.
That was the worst for me emotionally and mentally.
I have been there. I know what you're talking about. And for me, for some reason, I treated like my media job was like therapy for me. I would feel so good, like I'm on air right now and I'm working. I look totally okay. But then when the microphone goes off and I go back the other side, my world crumbles down, you know. So I know what you're trying to talk about.
It was difficult. And just like Juliana, in every phase of my life where I ended up in the pits, it was radio that pulled me back.
Yeah.
It was my media work that pulled me back, because at least you have this thing that you love. And once you're there, you can get lost in that.
Yeah.
But that's escapism, Julian.
It didn't help.
It does not help.
Explodes,
It only prolongs. And so I say all of this just to answer your question, that it can manifest in so many ways. And there's so many people today who are carrying diseases they should not be carrying. It's chronic stress. It's chronic stress from overextending yourselves. This is very common for women. I have friends of mine. The person is 33. They are complaining about back pain. Why are you having back pain in your 30s? Has the doctor said there's a problem with your back? If not, can we go back inward and figure out, is something going on with my body? You have people in relationships. You used to have good sex. Suddenly, zero appetite.
Zero, nothing.
It has so many hearts that it can,
As we come to the end of this conversation, I want to just make this clear that I hope Juliana is not hiding on this show.
I am telling you, this was in my past. I mean, I think
Oh,
you
it's in the past.
definitely
But
my
it's
story is
okay.
outside there and everyone knows about it.
I'm going
And
to.
I'm very okay.
No,
with
no,
it.
no. I'm going to come to Juliana's defense right now.
I need
It's
us to
okay
do-
even if it's happening
Even
right
if it's happening
now.
So for me, what I learned later in life, that I learned, if it happens to me, if I go back, if I throw myself back in that state, I don't need to hide. I learned to
Yes.
speak up for myself. I learned to actually put myself first. I never did. So I don't think there's anything that can take me back there, because I have been there and I know how to come out of it.
Have you been in a situation where you see somebody is calling you, an incoming call, and you feel like throwing up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now
No, you
that's
literally-
right there.
I flight mode my phone.
And you
Ta-da!
get tensions. For that reason, you never
Yeah.
hear my phone ring. My phone doesn't ring. It's always in silence, because there are some people I just set boundaries. If you call me,
Yeah.
I don't want to see you calling me. I'd rather see your missed call and then tell myself I'm not going to call back.
Yeah.
And those are healthy boundaries.
That's very healthy.
Yeah.
I agree. Because some people, you just don't like someone and you decide boundaries. No. I think we need to be a little bit careful. I love that you give, I will always go back. The body never lies.
True.
If that phone call comes and you feel the knots in your stomach, it's the body telling you this is not a safe person for us. But also I want to challenge some people, because sometimes I'll give an example. When I talked about rage and how my situation manifested, I was a nightmare to the people who love me.
Yeah.
You pick up my phone and I'm either wailing or shouting at you. I need your help, but I'm also cussing you out and all of these things.
Yeah.
I was a little out of control. I was not okay. So I've had a lot of people say, half 90% of my friends who reached out to me were like, my boundaries.
We can't do this
can't-
anymore.
And I've been guilty of that as well. Like I remember when, I'll be very honest about this. My sister was going through a bit of a mental health crisis for years. And I didn't know what that was. And so I had my own interpretation. And my interpretation, I talk about this, every single thing I talk about here, I've either lived it or I've seen someone close to me live it. And that's why this is so important for me to put out there. Because I distanced myself from her. I think we didn't speak for almost a year. And now I was experiencing the same thing and seeing similarities and saying, oh my God.
That's what she was going through.
That's what she was going through.
And I
I
wasn't
wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was so heartbreaking. And now here I am. And I've lost every single friend I have in the name of boundaries. And suddenly it hit me.
I feel you and I understand how you feel bad, but again, you shouldn't feel bad because your friends should know who you are. What I'm trying to say is people, so those will go. There are those that will actually disappear from your life. There are those that will stick because they know who you are.
True.
And they will actually try to understand why you're actually behaving the way you're behaving.
And it is important, but I also want to say that of course it's a very delicate kind of conversation. How do you really know if someone indeed does not have emotional bandwidth, or someone is indeed just saying protecting their healing or their space or all of that? And when you're on the receiving and have been on the giving end, it's a very interesting space of self-reflection, like personal experience rather, leading you to even communal reflection, seeing what's happening in the society. So my plea to everybody is, it is okay to see that maybe someone, you're sensing there's emotional manipulation, you're sensing maybe this is not healthy space for me to extend myself to, but also let's not carry ourselves as too delicate. You can sit in that discomfort with that person. You can even help them understand that maybe you're not going about this the right way, and this is this and that and that. But seeing how I self-isolated and stayed away from my sister, I would give everything today to turn back the hands of time and actually be there for her, and maybe do it in ways where my boundaries are not affected, they are healthy, they are in place, but that should not make me too afraid, to harm or whatever we're thinking about our boundaries, that I cannot then be there for somebody else.
I'd like to appreciate you, Isabel, for being so raw and authentic, even as we bring this quite delicate conversation. I think it is what makes us a family here on Kigali in the morning.
Yeah.
What would it look like to protect your peace this week?
I think for me, protecting my peace this week would look like listening to my body. I'm really learning to come from my mind and to give my emotions take 5, and really sit with my body and find out, where am I feeling the discomfort and what is it saying to me? I think for me that I've been trying to practice that, and just continuing in that would be, yeah.
On that note, we come to the end of our today's conversation, Wellness Thursdays with Isabel.
This is deep, yeah?
Yeah, very deep.
Today's conversation
I can
was
see
really
you
deep.
premeditating on it. Jesse the African Sun, Juliana in the morning. It's 17 after 9.
Kigali. Yeah, it's a good day to rise up on Kigali in the morning. Kigali.
From around the world in 3 minutes, the news updates on 94.3 Royal FM. The